The night a record deal turned into a federal case. The footage changed everything. 1 minute, this looked like another messy rap label breakup. The next minute, the internet was watching a hip-hop empire crack open in real time, with Gucci Mane, Pooh Shiesty, Big 30, 1017 Records, federal investigators, and a Dallas studio all trapped inside one of the most unbelievable stories rap has seen in years. According to reports and court filings, what allegedly started as a business meeting over a record contract turned into something much darker. Something that now has federal prosecutors using words like robbery, kidnapping, conspiracy, and evidence. And the wildest part is this: the person at the center of it was not an outsider. It was Pooh Shiesty, the Memphis star Gucci Mane helped introduce to the world. Gucci gave him the platform, 1017 gave him the machine. The industry watched him explode from regional buzz to national star almost overnight. But when money, masters, label rights, prison time, comeback pressure, and loyalty all collided, the relationship reportedly went from mentor and artist to alleged victim and defendant. The reported incident happened inside a Dallas recording studio, where Gucci Mane and others believed they were attending a legitimate meeting about Pooh's 1017 situation. But prosecutors claim the meeting was actually part of a setup tied to Shiesty's attempt to get out of his deal. They allege several people arrived, the mood shifted, weapons appeared, valuables were taken, and paperwork was presented that would supposedly release Pooh Shiesty from his contract. Even more shocking, investigators say video was recorded inside the room, allegedly showing Gucci being pressured to confirm the release. That clip sent rap Twitter into chaos. Some fans said Gucci had every right to protect himself. Others immediately dragged the conversation into street code territory, asking whether talking to police crossed the line. But this was not just street gossip anymore. This was federal court, surveillance, documents, statements, and a case that could reshape how people look at label loyalty in hip-hop. Because when the camera started rolling inside that studio, it did not just capture a confrontation. It captured the collapse of trust between a rap legend and the artist he once believed could carry 1017 into the next era. So before we break down how Gucci and Pooh went from making hits together to being on opposite sides of a federal case, let us know where you are watching from right now. If you think this is mostly about business, comment 1. If you think loyalty played the biggest role, comment 2. And if you want more deep hip-hop breakdowns like this, make sure you subscribe, because this story only gets crazier from here. From Memphis buzz to Gucci Mane's biggest bet. To understand why this story hits so hard, you have to go back before the court filings, before the studio footage, before the internet debates, and before the accusations turned into a national hip-hop scandal. Back then, Pooh Shiesty was not a federal headline. He was a hungry Memphis rapper with a cold delivery, a dangerous confidence, and the kind of raw energy labels chase but rarely know how to handle. He sounded like somebody who had lived every bar he rapped, and in a city with a long history of street rap that made him stand out fast. Gucci Mane saw it early, and that matters, because Gucci was not just another rapper co-signing a new artist for clout. By that point, Gucci had already become one of rap's most important talent scouts. His 1017 imprint had built a reputation for finding artists who sounded unfiltered, authentic, and connected to the streets in a way fans could feel immediate. When Gucci put his stamp on somebody, people paid attention. So when Pooh Shiesty entered the 1017 universe, the message was clear. Gucci believed he had found the next face of the label. Their chemistry made sense. Gucci had been through the industry machine, the street reputation, the legal trouble, the comeback, and the reinvention. Pooh represented the new generation, younger, louder, viral, ready, and carrying Memphis energy into the mainstream. Their collaboration felt like a passing of the torch. It was not just music, it was branding. It was history repeating itself in a new form. Gucci had once been the wild force labels could not control, and now he was the executive trying to shape someone with that same fire. Then came the breakout. Pooh Shiesty's rise was not slow, it was explosive. His records started moving beyond Memphis. His name began circulating everywhere, and when Back in Blood with Lil Durk became a massive moment, it felt like 1017 had struck gold. Suddenly, Pooh was not just another signee on a roster. He was the artist people associated with the new 1017 wave. The label had momentum again. Gucci looked like a genius, and Pooh looked like he was standing at the front door of superstardom. But fast success can create pressure just as quickly as it creates opportunity. The bigger Pooh became, the more valuable his contract became. His name, his masters, his label rights, his future deals. his touring potential, his catalog, everything started to matter more. What once looked like a blessing could later feel like a cage if the artist believed the business no longer matched his value. That is where the foundation of this entire conflict was built. Gucci saw an investment. Pooh may have started seeing restrictions, and once prison entered the picture, everything between them became even more complicated. The prison years and the frozen career. Pooh Shiesty's rise was fast, but the interruption came even faster. At the exact moment when his career seemed ready to level up, legal trouble pulled him out of the spotlight. For fans, it felt like watching a rocket take off and then suddenly disappear from the sky. The music kept playing. The name stayed hot. The streets still talked about him, but the artist himself was no longer moving freely through the industry he had just conquered. That created a strange situation. Pooh Shiesty was absent, but his value did not vanish. In fact, being locked away can sometimes freeze an artist in mythology. Fans replay the records. The image grows bigger. The comeback becomes part of the story before it even happens. Every month away adds pressure to the return. And while Pooh was inside, people were already imagining what would happen when he came home. Would he pick up exactly where he left off? Would 1017 make him the priority again? Would Gucci still be standing beside him like before? But the music business does not stop for anybody. While Pooh was away, 1017 had its own problems. Rosters shift, budgets change, labels reassess profit and loss. Artists who were once marketed as the future can become complicated assets when they are not available to tour, promote, release consistently, or sit in rooms with executives. Gucci eventually made public moves, suggesting he was restructuring and freeing several artists to move elsewhere. On the outside, that might have looked like a business decision. But to anyone watching Pooh's situation closely, one question immediately stood out. Where did that leave him? Because according to the storyline around the case, Pooh was not simply free to walk away. His 1017 deal reportedly remained a key issue. That meant while other artists might have been shown the door, Pooh's situation was different. His name still had value. His comeback still had commercial upside. His catalog still mattered. And if he came home hot, whoever controlled the business side of that comeback could benefit in a major way. That is where frustration may have started building. Imagine coming home after years away, seeing the industry move on, seeing labels prepare offers, seeing fans waiting, but also feeling like the contract you signed before everything changed is still holding the keys. That kind of pressure can make every conversation feel bigger than business. It can turn paperwork into pride. It can turn negotiation into resentment. And according to prosecutors, that tension did not just fade. It followed Pooh Shiesty all the way out of prison and directly into the next chapter of his career, the comeback that raised the stakes. When Pooh Shiesty came home, the industry was ready to see whether the hype was still real. Some artists lose momentum after time away. The sound changes, fans move on, younger names step into the lane, and the comeback becomes harder than expected. But Pooh's return did not look weak. It looked powerful. His first major comeback moment reportedly proved that the demand was still there. Fans were listening, blogs were watching, and labels understood one thing immediately: Pooh Shiesty was still valuable. That made everything more dangerous from a business standpoint. Because when an artist comes home cold, the label has leverage. But when an artist comes home hot, the artist starts asking different questions. Who owns the music? Who controls the next release? Who can approve outside offers? Who gets paid if another label wants in? Who has the power to say yes or no? These are not small questions. In hip-hop, they can determine whether an artist becomes independent, signs a massive new deal, or stays trapped in an old agreement. Reports around the case suggest that Yo Gotti and CMG became part of the conversation. That detail alone poured fuel on the fire, because Gucci Mane and Yo Gotti have a long, complicated history. So now this was not just Pooh wanting freedom from 1017. It was Pooh potentially being connected to a rival label boss, while still tied to Gucci's company. In rap, that is not just business. That is symbolism. That is territory. That is ego, leverage, reputation, and history all sitting at the same table. From Pooh's side, the argument may have felt simple. He had served time, returned with momentum, and wanted control over his next chapter. From Gucci's side, the issue may have looked completely different. 1017 invested in Pooh before the rest of the industry fully believed, helped build the foundation, and still had contractual rights. Both sides could believe they were right, but belief does not erase paperwork. That is why the alleged Dallas meeting became so important. It was reportedly supposed to be about resolving the contract dispute, but prosecutors claim it was not a normal meeting at all. They say documents were prepared ahead of time. They say multiple people traveled in. They say the goal was not simply to talk, but to force a result. And that is what makes this story so disturbing, because it suggests the dispute was no longer about music, rollout dates, or percentages. It was about control. Pooh allegedly wanted full release, masters, rights, and freedom to move. Gucci allegedly refused. And when the word no entered the room, everything changed. The Dallas studio meeting. The Dallas studio was supposed to be a business setting, the kind of place where artists, managers, label people, and lawyers might meet to talk through next steps. Studios are where songs are made, deals are discussed, relationships are repaired, and careers are planned. But according to the allegations in this case, that studio became the center of something far more serious. Prosecutors claim Gucci Mane and others arrived, believing the meeting was connected to Pooh Shiesty's 1017 situation. They were not walking into a random street encounter. They were walking into what sounded like a business conversation. That detail matters, because it shows how blurred the line had become between the music industry and the street energy surrounding it. On paper, it was about a recording contract. In reality, prosecutors say it turned into an alleged armed takeover. The government's version of events is dramatic. They claim multiple people were involved, some traveling from Memphis, and that once inside, the tone shifted. Instead of negotiation, there was intimidation. Instead of lawyers, there were alleged weapons. Instead of a signed agreement reached through legal channels, prosecutors say Gucci was pressured into confirming and signing a release document that would free Pooh from 1017. The alleged document itself is one of the strangest parts of the story. This was not just about taking jewelry or making a point. Prosecutors claim the paperwork was created to look like a real business release, covering contract termination, obligations, masters, intellectual property, and approval rights connected to future move. In other words, whoever prepared it understood the business side. They knew what Pooh needed to control if he wanted to walk away from 1017 with real power. That is why this case feels so different from a typical rap scandal. The accusation is not simply that a confrontation happened. The accusation is that a business document was allegedly used as the center of the whole plan. A contract dispute, according to prosecutors, became the motive. A studio became the stage. A camera became the evidence. And the label relationship that once looked like a success story became the foundation for federal charges. Then came the footage. Reports say Big 30 allegedly recorded Gucci saying Pooh was dropped from 1017. To the people in that room, that recording may have been meant as proof. But once investigators got involved, the same recording became something else entirely. It became a piece of evidence. That is the irony at the heart of this story. The clip allegedly created to prove Pooh's freedom may now be one of the things prosecutors use to argue the opposite, that the release was not freedom at all, but pressure. Big 30, the camera, and the evidence problem. Big 30's alleged role added another layer to the entire case. He was not just mentioned as somebody standing nearby. Prosecutors claim he played an active part in key moments, including allegedly recording the video that showed Gucci confirming Pooh's release from 1017. That detail made the internet explode, because in modern hip-hop, a camera can be more dangerous than a weapon when a legal case starts forming around it. Think about the mindset behind recording that moment. If the allegations are accurate, the people inside that studio did not just want Gucci to sign or speak. They wanted proof. They wanted a record of the moment. They wanted something that could be shown later, maybe to a label, maybe to lawyers, maybe to anyone questioning whether Pooh was truly free from 1017. But what looks useful in the moment can become devastating later. A video does not forget. It does not change its story. And once federal investigators have it, every second can be slowed down, analyzed, enhanced, and placed in front of a judge. Prosecutors also reportedly claimed that Big 30 tried to destroy the phone connected to the footage. If true, that detail becomes extremely important because it suggests the people involved may have understood how damaging the recording could be. But by then, according to the case narrative, investigators had already obtained enough to build their argument. The footage, the contract language, the witness statements, the movement of people, the timing, the alleged travel, and the surrounding evidence all started forming a much bigger picture. This is why the defense pushed back hard. Pooh's lawyers reportedly challenged the strength of the evidence, pointing to questions about physical proof, recovered items, and direct documentation. In a federal case, the government has to prove its allegations beyond a reasonable doubt. Defense attorneys know that public opinion is not the same as evidence, and viral clips do not automatically equal guilt. So they frame the situation as disputed, messy, and dependent on statements from people with their own interests. But prosecutors were not backing down. They described the case as coordinated and serious. They argued that this was not a misunderstanding or a heated argument that got exaggerated online. They said it was planned. They said the contract was printed ahead of time. They said the studio meeting had a purpose. And they said the people involved used pressure to try to force a business outcome. That is what makes the camera so central. It sits between both narratives. To the internet, it was drama. To prosecutors, it was evidence. To the defense, it may become something they try to challenge, explain, or separate from the government's most serious claims. But once that footage hit public discussion, the case moved beyond the courtroom. It became a cultural trial, and Gucci Mane found himself facing a second kind of judgment. The snitching debate takes over hip-hop. The moment people heard that Gucci Mane had reportedly provided information to authorities, the conversation shifted. Suddenly, the case was not only about Pooh Shiesty, Big 30, 1017, or the Dallas studio. It became about one of hip-hop's most sensitive topics: cooperation. In rap culture, especially in street-connected spaces, the word snitching carries enormous weight. It can destroy reputations, split fan bases, and turn even a victim into the person being judged. That is exactly why Gucci's situation became so complicated. On one side, many fans argued that if someone is allegedly threatened, robbed, or pressured inside a studio, they have every right to protect themselves. Gucci is not just an artist. He is a businessman, a label owner, a husband, a father, and the head of a company connected to major distribution. From that perspective, expecting him to stay silent about a federal-level incident is unrealistic. Once security calls police, once investigators arrive, once lawyers and labels get involved, silence may not even be practical. But on the other side, hip-hop does not always judge situations through legal logic. It judges through codes, image, and history. Gucci's public persona has always been tied to toughness, survival, and street credibility. So when reports suggested that statements from Gucci and others helped shape the complaint, critics immediately questioned whether that image and the legal reality could exist together. The internet wanted a simple answer, but this story did not offer one. Some voices defended Gucci strongly. They said being targeted in an alleged setup does not make someone wrong for speaking. They argued that street rules cannot apply the same way when millions of dollars, federal charges, employees, contracts, and personal safety are involved. Others were harsher, claiming that any cooperation with law enforcement violated the code many rappers publicly promote. The problem is that both conversations are happening at once. There is the legal conversation, where facts, statements, filings, footage, and testimony matter. Then there is the cultural conversation, where perception can matter even more. Gucci may be able to defend himself legally, but in hip-hop, the court of public opinion moves faster than any judge. Then came his music response. Gucci reportedly addressed the situation on a track, framing himself as someone who survived betrayal and still held power over the contract. That move was classic rap strategy. Turn pain into a record, turn accusation into content, turn a scandal into a statement. But it also added fuel to the debate. If Gucci was speaking boldly on wax, while the case also involved statements to authorities, fans were going to compare both versions of the story. And that is where the entire situation became a trap. Say nothing, and people assume weakness. Speak in music, and people dissect the lyrics. Speak to investigators, and people question loyalty. In a case like this, every move becomes evidence to somebody. The courtroom pressure builds. As the case moved deeper into the legal system, the stakes became much bigger than rap gossip. Federal prosecutors were not treating this like a misunderstanding between artists. They painted the alleged incident as organized, dangerous, and connected to a larger pattern of risk. The language in their filings reportedly focused on public safety, witness safety, flight risk, and the seriousness of what allegedly happened inside that Dallas studio. For Pooh Shiesty, that created a serious problem. He was already coming off prior legal issues and was reportedly under restrictions when the Dallas incident allegedly happened. Prosecutors argued that if someone is already being monitored and still becomes connected to a new federal case, ordinary release conditions may not be enough. That is why bond became such a major issue. The court had to look at whether any set of conditions could reasonably protect the community and ensure he would return. The government's argument was blunt. They believed Pooh had access to people, influence, money, and networks that could make him difficult to control outside custody. They also pointed to the alleged coordination of the incident itself. If prosecutors can convince a judge that someone arranged travel, gathered people, worked around restrictions, and used a studio meeting to force a business result, then the judge may see that person as too risky to release. Big 30 situation added another business twist. Prosecutors reportedly argued that a potential 7-figure deal could create flight risk concerns, because access to major money can change what bond means. If a person is about to receive a huge advance, a standard bond amount may not feel like enough leverage. That argument shows how deeply the music industry is tied into the legal strategy here. Record deals, advances, masters, and label rights are not background details. They are part of the case. And then there is the upcoming trial timeline. If the case proceeds, prosecutors will likely try to present the alleged footage, the contract language, statements from people involved, and evidence showing how everyone arrived at the studio. The defense will likely challenge every weak point, whether the footage proves what prosecutors say it proves, whether witness statements are consistent, whether physical evidence supports the claims, and whether the government is stretching a chaotic confrontation into a larger conspiracy. That means the courtroom will not just be deciding what happened. It may also be deciding how much of the public story was hype, how much was evidence, and how much was interpretation. In rap media, stories often become facts before court ever begins. But in federal court, every claim has to survive scrutiny. Still, the damage is already massive. Pooh's comeback has been interrupted again. Gucci's name is tied to a public legal battle. 1017's image is under pressure. Big 30's future is uncertain. And the fans are left watching a story that started with a hit record and may end with years of consequences. What this means for 1017 and the future of rap deals. At the center of all this chaos is one uncomfortable truth. Rap is entertainment, but the business behind it is deadly serious. Fans see songs, chains, videos, cars, and viral clips. Artists see contracts, ownership, masters, approvals, advances, debt, obligations, and power. When those two worlds collide, the result can be explosive. That is what makes the Gucci Mane and Pooh Shiesty situation bigger than one alleged studio incident. It exposes how much pressure can build when a young artist's image is rising faster than his paperwork can adapt. For Gucci Mane, 1017 has always been more than a label. It is part of his identity. He built his career by surviving chaos, then turned around and became an executive for artists who came from similar environments. But that model carries risk. When you sign artists whose appeal is built partly on raw street credibility, you also inherit the instability that can come with that world. The same authenticity that sells records can also create legal exposure, public relations, nightmares, and conflicts that traditional business tools cannot easily fix. For Pooh Shiesty, the lesson is equally harsh. Talent can open the door, but decisions keep it open. He had momentum, a loyal fan base, a proven sound, and industry interest after coming home. But if the allegations are true, one attempt to force business freedom may have put his entire future in jeopardy. The tragedy is not just that a contract dispute allegedly became violent, it is that there were legal ways to fight a deal. Lawyers, arbitration, renegotiation, public pressure, leverage through success, all of those paths existed. But prosecutors claim a different path was chosen. For other artists, this story should be a warning about signing too fast, trusting too much, and waiting too long to understand the fine print. A record deal can look like a blessing when the check clears. But years later, that same deal can feel like a wall if the artist believes they outgrew it. Masters matter, approval rights matter, exit clauses matter, legal representation matters. And most importantly, no contract is worth losing your freedom over. For labels, the warning is also clear. When artists feel trapped, ignored, or undervalued, resentment can build quietly until it becomes public. Communication matters, transparency matters, exit strategies matter. If a label wants loyalty, it has to create a structure where the artist believes success benefits both sides, not just the company. As the case moves forward, the court will decide guilt or innocence based on evidence, not internet arguments. But culturally, the damage has already been done. Gucci and Pooh's story is no longer just about music. It is about loyalty, ownership, ambition, ego, and the dangerous moment when business pressure becomes personal. And in hip-hop, once trust breaks publicly, even a signed contract may not be strong enough to hold the relationship together. The lesson behind the fallout. The most important part of this story is not just who wins in court. It is what this entire situation reveals about the rap business when fame, street reputation, loyalty, and contracts all crash into each other at the same time. Gucci Mane and Pooh Shiesty were supposed to represent a success story. A veteran legend finds a hungry young artist, gives him a platform, helps him reach the mainstream, and watches him become one of the most talked about names in hip-hop. That was the dream version, but the reality became much darker. At some point, the relationship allegedly stopped feeling like family and started feeling like ownership. That is when everything shifted, because in the music industry, the word loyalty can mean two completely different things depending on who is saying it. To a label boss, loyalty may mean honoring the deal that made the rise possible. To an artist, loyalty may mean being allowed to grow, renegotiate, and control the next chapter after proving their value. When those definitions do not match, resentment can grow faster than success. This is why young artists have to understand the business before the buzz gets too loud. A viral song can change your life, but a bad decision around paperwork can control your life. Before signing anything, artists need real lawyers, not just friends in the room. They need to understand masters, publishing, advances, recoupment, options, release clauses, and what happens if they become bigger than the deal. Because once the money arrives, everyone smiles. But when the disagreement arrives, only the contract speaks. For label owners, the lesson is just as serious. You cannot build long-term loyalty through pressure, silence, or confusion. Artists need to feel respected, informed, and included in the future they are helping create. If an artist feels trapped, the relationship becomes dangerous. Not always physically dangerous, but emotionally and professionally dangerous. The music suffers, the trust disappears, the brand gets damaged. And sometimes, as this case shows, the consequences can become far bigger than anyone expected. The most human lesson is this: no deal, no chain, no label, no masters, no advance, and no street reputation is worth losing peace, freedom, or life over. Disputes should be handled with lawyers, mediation, negotiation, and patience. Hip-hop has already lost too many talented people to pride, ego, and situations that could have been solved before they exploded. Real power is not forcing someone into a room. Real power is walking into a room with the truth, the paperwork, the right team, and the discipline to leave safely. As the case continues, the courts will decide what can be proven. Fans will keep arguing. Bloggers will keep posting updates. But the bigger message should not be ignored. Talent can make you famous, but wisdom keeps you free. Loyalty can build an empire, but broken trust can destroy it overnight. And in the rap game, the most dangerous contract is not always the one you sign. Sometimes, it is the one you do not understand until it is too late. If you made it to the end, tell us what you think. Was this mostly about business, loyalty, or ego? Comment: 1 for business, 2 for loyalty, or 3 for ego. Make sure you like the video, share it with someone who follows hip-hop news, and subscribe for more deep breakdowns on the biggest stories shaking the rap world.